Hey, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good Friday morning. I'm sitting here in Warsaw, North Carolina, waiting on one of our customers to sign a LRP contract. And I've been listening to a podcast, and I really wanted to share what the information said, so I figured I'd better record it right quick before I forgot everything. I made a few notes here. But the topic of discussion, it was on Standard Grain, on their pay-per-view type content, and had Shay Folk from AgView Solutions on there, and he was talking about prepaying for your inputs going into 2024. That's always a big decision that farmers have to make every December as they work with their CPAs and decide, is it advantageous to prepay going into the next year. And there were a couple things that Shay talked about on there that just top of mind wanted to share with everyone. Is it's a little different game today than it was a few years ago when we were operating on 1, 2, 3% money, and you're offered a 10% prepay. That was very advantageous to do it ahead of time. Now some of our operating notes are 8, 9%, so you just need to make sure that prepay is above that. If you're getting a 5% discount and your operating notes costing you 8%, doesn't make sense to prepay. But there's some other advantages he talked about to prepay. One is you lock in those inputs. You have a guaranteed commitment from your supplier that you're going to get that input. And if we run into a deal with supply chain or active ingredients like we have in the past, hopefully you've either taken delivery of those or you've got them locked up and secured at your supplier so you can get your hands on them. The one I thought was most important that he talked about is if you lock in that price, today or the day you prepay what your operating costs are going into next year. You already know what your equipment operating costs are going to be. You know what your land rent's going to be, those type things. But if you get your fertilizer, seed, chemicals locked in, you got about 90% of your budget locked in. So as markets move during the year, if you see a quick rise, which we'll see markets do, they'll jump up for a week or two and fall down. Most of us sit there and wait on them to go another dollar higher. But if you know your true cost of production and it gets to a point where you can lock in a profit, might be advantageous knowing that you know your budget to go ahead and lock in a profit for the next year there. Some other cautions he threw out were watch some of these bundling deals that come up and some of these rebate deals that are offered by some of the manufacturers. Just make sure you read the fine print in those. Make sure you know that everything that you've got to do to maximize that rebate. Make sure you check your pricing also. Somebody is paying for that bundling discount and that rebate, and that is usually the American farmer. Make sure that you know what your final landed price is and how that discount factors in, where you're going to get it, when you're going to get it, and how you're going to validate whether it is correct or not. I hear too many farmers talking about that what they got in the mailbox didn't match what was on the iPad early in the winter when they were booking their things for the year. So make sure you just know the ins and outs of that, not bashing any manufacturer, any distributor, just telling our farmers to be smart, know what you're getting into, know what the requirements of you are. Some you may have to put a certain number of applications on to get the total rebate. All you might remember is what that total rebate is. You might not remember what you had to do to get it. So make sure you keep an eye on that. And the last little note he said is, we've locked in some low price on land rent the last few years. Well, not necessarily low, but we knew what they were before some things escalated. Maybe had some long-term contracts. Maybe you also had some equipment notes that were locked in under 3 or 4% interest. His caution was don't pay off on things like that the interest rate is lower than what your operating note is. Save that. Just take the advantage that you locked in at a 3 or 4% rate and continue to pay it monthly, yearly. But don't take 8% money to pay off 3% money is basically what he was saying. But the first thing and the last thing I'm going to say, consult with your CPA. Make sure it works for your operation. It may sound good. You may think a discount or a prepay is excellent for you, but ultimately you need to find out how it's going to affect your income taxes. I hope this helps. Thanks for tuning in to this Often Insurance Quick Take. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you later.